Hello everybody, once again this is Spoonie with the next installment of the shipbuilding tutorial for Starbase. In this video I'm going to go over how to add hardpoints to your ship, how to construct your thrusters, how to add them to your ship, and what the differences between those thrusters are. So the first step to adding engines to any ship is creating a decent place to put them. So what we're going to do, in order to make sure that all of the thrust is not going onto a single beam, is we're going to rotate this segment of the ship that we built in the previous video. We're going to copy and paste it, and then we're going to connect them with some beams. Once we've got those placed, we just drag this segment into place, and then we'll copy and paste those beams in order to fill out the rest of the frame. Make sure those are all in place. Be dragged over just a little bit. And then we'll add these. And then we'll start building out a small wing, just so that it's easier to see exactly how I'm connecting the pipes and cables later on. So I'm going to go to each side with a slightly smaller beam. Just create a small little wing. And then we can just use these for between them because we know they'll fit. As you can see, I did have to place that one. There is that bug where sometimes they just don't look right. And I cannot get this facing the way I want it to. There we go. Alright. Now we'll just copy and paste this onto the other side, and then we'll be ready to add some hardpoints. Perfect. So now that we've got our wings in place, we're ready to start adding some hardpoints and constructing our engines. So we're going to go to our asset browser, type in hardpoint, and you can see there's three kinds. There's the corner hardpoint, which has two hardpoints on it. There's the large hardpoint, which has a small ridge, which can make it great for attaching it to beams. This. You can go down and bolt it into place, and it will function just like that once you've got everything wired up. And then there's the regular hardpoint, which is just a small square. They function exactly the same, so we're just going to use these regular, smaller hardpoints. Now you can attach them to the ship before you construct your thrusters, but that can make it a little bit difficult to get them exactly aligned. So I like to attach the hardpoint to the thruster before it's added to the ship. So let's construct our thrusters. Alright, so constructing the thrusters, to get started, we're going to go to our asset browser. We're going to type in thrusters. And there's a box thruster, a triangle thruster, and a plasma thruster. I'm only going to go over the triangle and box thruster for this video because those are the ones that you'll be using in the very beginning. And you can play around with the plasma thruster, and I'll make a separate video that goes over how to construct those. But for now, we'll stick with the box thruster and triangle thruster. You can see there's multiple tiers of each component. There are 4 components. The only component that does not have multiple tiers is the combustion chamber, but these are fully modular, so you can use a tier 1 body with a tier 2 propellant converter or a tier 3 electricity converter, whatever you want to do. But we'll stick with tier 1 everything. As you go up in tiers, they do become more expensive, and you are required to have some more rare ore in order to construct them. But they also increase in power and efficiency. So once we've got our box thruster placed, you can see there are these two ports on top. One is purple, one is blue. You can see on the combustion chamber, which is the second piece we're going to place, there's also a purple and a blue port. You just want to make sure that those are on the same side, and it'll snap right into place. So the purple is going to be filled out by the propellant converter, and it'll snap right in. And the blue is the electricity converter, and it'll snap right in as well. So once you've got those four components, you just finish it off with the nozzle, and then you're going to auto bolt everything together, just to make sure you don't lose any of those pieces when you're moving it around. And the reason we build it off to the side here is so that you can just copy and paste it instead of having to construct 5, 6, or 20 of these engines. So once we've got this constructed, we're going to go back to our asset manager, asset browser, and we're going to get a device hardpoint, and you can see there are identical squares on the thruster and on the hardpoint. There's one on each side. You just want to make sure that those are lined up, and go ahead and place it on the engine. Select everything again, and auto bolt to connect it, and then we're ready to start connecting these to our ship. I'm going to stack 2 of them before I place them, just to make it that much easier on myself. So Control-C, Control-V. And this section here that has the nozzle on it is the back of your thruster. That's what you want to be facing, the back of your ship. And do make sure that there's nothing blocking the back of these, as that will limit your thrust. I also learned that the hard way. I'm not sure if it will damage your ship, but I imagine once you leave the safe zone, it probably will. So once we've got those in place, we'll just do the same to the other side. Copy and paste 2. Make sure they're lined up. And then we're going to rotate these and put them onto our ship. Make sure those are in the same place on either side. They are. Great. So now we're going to bolt the hard points into place. Four usually is enough, but if you want to add more, you can. If it's not enough, the durability tool will show us, and we can add more later on. So now that those are on, let's check our durability. As you can see, these are segmented, which means we did forget to weld our ship together. So we'll apply to all, weld these bolts into place, and now you can see everything is turned green. It is no longer yellow, and if you select the durability tool, you can see our ship warp class is 0.3. It no longer says no ship frame because we have added engines. However, because it is less than 1, you can see we do clearly have some durability issues with these engines that have been placed. They are red, so let's start fixing that. To fix it, we're just going to add a few more bolts. You can see that turned green. Same with that. Do the same to the other side. And there we go. Now let's check our ship warp. It is 1.09, which means this ship will fly. Alright, so now that we've got our primary thrusters in place, it's time to add some maneuvering thrusters, which are going to allow us to yaw, pitch, and roll. Yaw is what will move the ship left and right, pitch is what will move it up and down, and roll is what will rotate it. So once again, we're going to go to our asset browser. We're going to type in hardpoints. We're just going to use the regular hardpoint once again. And again, I like to construct these off to the side so that they're easy to copy and paste. Back to the asset browser, search for maneuvering thrusters. And as you can see, there are 3 tiers. It's the same thing with the other engines. As you move up in tiers, they become more powerful, more efficient, but more expensive. So we'll stick with tier 1. Once those are together, and these are much simpler, it's just the hardpoint and the maneuvering thruster, we're going to copy and paste these and start placing them around our ship. And I've seen people who have various designs for where these are placed. I just like to place 2 on each side, That seems to be sufficient. For the yaw, the left and right, you do only need these two because these engines, being where they are, they will help us yaw. So I'm not going to place as many for those, but on the top I will place 4. The top and bottom I'll place 4. And I'm not going to worry about bolting these down until I've got them all into place. Okay. So now we're going to do the top and bottom. In fact, I may just do 2 instead of 4 on the top and bottom. And you can make this look a little bit prettier by placing them in a better place, but I'm placing them in places that are going to make it really easy to see how I'm connecting them, how I'm wiring them, how I'm putting cables in, cables and pipes. That one's backwards. So definitely going for function over form here. Make sure those are all lined up. Looks like they are. This one needs to be moved over just a little bit. Same with this. I'm not sure those are exactly centered. I think it is actually the bottom ones that need to be moved over. Yeah, it is. Looks pretty good. So then we're going to select everything. We're going to auto bolt. And then we're going to go around and make sure that these are connected. As you can see, they are not currently. It shows you the red square behind this little orange one, which does show you that there is not enough connectivity. So we're going to add a few more. And there it turns green. And these bolts will go through multiple components as long as they're not too large. And it actually looks like we're fine now. That's everything. Oh, except for this one here. Let's check our warp cord just to be sure. 2.68, so we're good. Now that we have all of our thrusters in place, the next step is to prepare our thrusters to be controlled by the flight control unit and the flight computer. If you select any of your thrusters, you can see in the properties box, there are 2 fields, thruster state, thruster current thrust. By default, all of your thrusters are going to share these name values. That makes it impossible for the flight control unit and the flight computer to tell them apart from one another. To solve this, go to the top of your screen and select your thruster field name tool. By default, the thruster field name tool is set to manual. We're going to set it to automatic. This is going to change the name values of each of your engines to thruster power level, followed by a number. The number is based on the order in which the engine was placed. It is arbitrary though. It does not matter where thruster power level 01 or 02 or 03 is. All that does is tell the flight computer that that is an independent engine and needs to be controlled separately. These values only go up to 50, so if your ship does have more than 50 thrusters, you will have to start using thruster control groups, which is as simple as setting 2 engines to having the same thruster power level followed by the same number. So if we wanted these 2 engines to act as one, we could set them both to thruster power level 03, and the flight control unit would think they are one single engine. This is really useful when you have larger ships, especially for your maneuvering thrusters, because we could just simply set 2 maneuvering thrusters side by side, doubling our thrust for that area, and we wouldn't have to waste 2 control groups. We could simply name them the same thruster power level, and they would be controlled as one. but since we have less than 50 engines, or 50 thrusters, that's not something we need to worry about for right now. Now that we have all of our thrusters named and placed, we want to check for durability. Only this time, instead of left-clicking with the durability tool anywhere on our ship, we're going to right-click. This is going to give us an overview of the durability of our beams and the stress exerted on them. We want the stress to show up as a dark blue color. If it is a lavender, a bright lavender, you may want to think about adding some beams or some bolts in order to redistribute the stress exerted on those beams. Most of the stress is going to come from your thrusters, so that's a good place to check. This is light enough that it's potential that this beam could fail. So, we're going to add some additional beams and bolts in order to redistribute the stress. When we're trying to alleviate some of the stress on our beams, we want to start by looking where the stress is created, which is primarily our thrusters. As you can see, these two wings are not actually connected to one another, which means the majority of the stress from the thrusters is being exerted onto this section of the wing. We can alleviate this by connecting these two sections. We'll do the same on the other side. And then we'll weld these into place. Now let's check our durability. And as you can see, it is darker in color. This is again not ideal. We should probably add a few more beams to distribute this weight even more. However, these are unlikely to fail. So for our purposes, I'll consider this good enough. Finally, the last step in preparing our thrusters is to actually place the flight control unit in the flight computer. So we're going to go to our asset browser, type in flight. You can see there are three types of flight control units: the basic, the advanced, and the premium. The premium is quite a bit more expensive than the basic or the advanced, but since the basic and the advanced share a relatively similar cost, I don't see a reason to not just go with the advanced, as it does add a little bit more functionality. The placement of the flight control unit does matter. These three arrows need to be facing the front of your ship. This square on top, it needs to be facing the top. If these three arrows are facing any other direction, it will think whatever direction they are facing is the front, and it will be controlled as though that is the front. The same as if this is sideways or upside down, it will be controlled as if your ship is sideways or upside down. It doesn't need to be placed in the center, but do pay attention to that square on top and those three arrows. The flight computer doesn't matter as much in its placement, but I would recommend placing it near the flight control unit, as they do need to be connected. Once they're in place, we're going to bolt them down. And our thrusters are ready. In the next video, I'll show you how to cable everything together, how to pipe everything together. We'll place some propellant tanks, some generators, and we'll get this thing actually flying.